tensions between Russia and Ukraine have intensified after hundreds of murdered civilians were allegedly found following the withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine's Bucha. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy addressed an emergency session at UN Security Council on Tuesday. He called on Western countries to impose further sanctions on Russia and demanded change at the UN and accountability for Moscow. Moscow's ambassador to the United Nations dismissed allegations. Vasily Nebenzya said there was no evidence from witnesses. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called for an independent investigation. New sanctions against Moscow are expected from the US this week, and Ukraine confirms it will attend NATO talks in Brussels on Thursday in person. Sarah Walton reports from New York.
President Zelenskyy spoke about allegations of civilian deaths in the town of Bucha in often very graphic detail. He said he recently returned from the town and he showed the Security Council a video, an often shocking video that appeared to show bodies lying in streets or in open graves in the town of Bucha. He said that those people had been killed by Russian forces for fun and that women and children were amongst the dead. President Zelenskyy actually compared Russia to Daesh, was the term he used, also known as ISIL. And he warned the Security Council that he believed similar scenes to that scene in Bucha would be found in other Ukrainian cities that are currently occupied by Russia but are cut off at the moment, such as Mariupol. Russia responded to his allegations, saying that the images that were shown to the Security Council were fake. And instead, Russia said they had gathered testimony from thousands of people detailing cruelty carried out by Ukraine. The Russian ambassador accused Ukrainian forces of killing women and children and of using civilians as human shields. Now, President Zelenskyy also used his address to heavily criticise the Security Council itself. He asked the Security Council, where is the security? And that's because, despite being the most powerful arm of the United Nations, the Security Council is yet to successfully pass any kind of resolution regarding the situation in Ukraine, because Russia is a permanent member and has the ability to veto its decisions. President Zelenskyy said it is obvious that this key institution of the world simply cannot work effectively. And he gave the Security Council three options. He said they should remove Russia or find a way to reform so that Russia no longer has a veto power, or the organisation should dissolve itself. Now, there is no simple direct way to remove a country from the Security Council. However, it is more likely that Russia could be removed from other United Nations organisations such as the Human Rights Council. And during the meeting at the UN, we heard again the United States repeat its calls for that to happen. We believe the United States, along with a number of other UN member states such as Ukraine, will present a resolution to the General Assembly in the coming days that would pave the way for Russia to be suspended from the Human Rights Council. Sarah Walton, CGTN, New York.
And CGTN reporter Yulo Abdafid followed the Ukrainian Defense Ministry as they made visit to Bucha, and here's his report.
Situated so close to Ukraine's capital city, Bucha now has a reputation all of its own. St. Andrew's Church contains a mass grave where dozens of civilians, reportedly killed by Russian soldiers, were buried together.
People died in different circumstances. Some died because of the Russian shelling, others were killed in their cars. The city was littered with the corpses. You'd walk and see dead bodies everywhere.
Gradually, facts are being uncovered, but more bodies in black plastic bags still arrive as the town's streets are cleared. Initially, 68 people were laid here.
From the 10th of March, bodies were brought here to the local church because there was no room in the hospital morgue and people didn't want to leave these bodies on the streets. And as it was too dangerous to go to the cemetery, locals brought these bodies here.
Russia denies the accusations. calling the photographs that have been published showing corpses on the streets as fake or staged.
We believe these are war crimes, and they will be recognized by the world as genocide. You are here and can see what happened.
Signs of battles, destruction are clear, as are the testimonies of those who have survived. Not far from St Andrew's Church, those who stayed are still coming to terms with a 5-week assault on their town. Timur, a 21-year-old marketing student, was with a dozen neighbors without water, electricity or heating, and spoke about the Russian soldiers.
They checked every flat, every corner, every person who lived here to find some weapons, to find some Nazis, as they call it, because they told that there are a lot of Nazis, but we didn't find anybody.
Bucha has been brutalized. The scale of the destruction will take time and money to repair. The scars of seeing hundreds of corpses lining the streets will take far longer to heal. Yoloap David, CGTN, Bucha, Ukraine.
Now, the Kremlin says that Western allegations over Bucha killings are a monstrous forgery aimed at denigrating the Russian army. And it also says the remark by Biden that Putin should be tried for war crimes is unacceptable and unworthy. Now, the United States and its allies are working on a new round of sanctions against China. While White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the new U.S. sanctions will target Russian government officials and family members and its financial institutions and state-owned enterprises. The announcement comes as the European Commission proposed its 5th round of sanctions against Moscow, and these include a ban on imports of coal from Russia and a transaction ban on 4 key Russian banks, including the country's second-largest VTB. Now, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the 27-nation bloc will also stop imports of Russian wood and cement, as well as seafood and liquor, worth in total some 5.5 billion euros annually.
We're working on additional sanctions, including on oil imports, and we are reflecting on some of the ideas presented by the member states, such as taxes or specific payment channels, such as an escrow account.
And dozens of Russian diplomats have been expelled from European countries this week. It amounts to one of the biggest diplomatic breakdowns of recent years. The European Union on Tuesday declared a number of Russian diplomats working in Brussels persona non grata and ordered them to leave host nation Belgium. Germany and France announced around 75 expulsions on Monday, and a number of other EU member states, including Spain, Portugal, Italy, followed suit. Lithuania and Latvia earlier downgraded their diplomatic relations with Russia. The expulsions were for alleged spying or national security reasons, and the Kremlin called the expulsions a short-sighted move. It said it will only complicate communications.
Narrowing down opportunities for diplomatic communication in such an unprecedentedly difficult crisis environment is a short-sighted move that will further complicate our communication, which is necessary to find a solution. And this will inevitably lead to retaliatory steps.